Hello, and welcome to the first podcast for How to Manage People. This is going to be Season 1, Episode 1.
I'm eating.
Brett is here, and he is eating. Brett is going to be my co-host for most of these, and my name is Laila, the founder of How to Manage People, which is a unique lifestyle, behavioral traits. I don't really know. It's kind of like a lifestyle thing, but essentially what we do here is we look at our interactions, and we maximize our interactions to make our lives easier. So, today the topic we are going to be talking about is living with intention. Brett, what is your first immediate thought about this?
Well, first of all, I'd say that's a great intro, and I appreciate you handing it off. My name is Brett. If you don't know me, I'm the co-founder of How to Manage Laila, and I'm doing a great job so far, and I think I've managed her very, very well. And my intention was, when I first started dating her, was to get physically intimate, and I succeeded very quickly in that. And I was very, very impressed with how I was able to do that. But once I found out she was actually a very kind, sweethearted, lovely individual, and she was fun to be around, I decided to start making it a goal of mine to start taking over her time a little bit more and getting closer to her. And eventually we started dating, and the intention was not to date at first, but now it is to build an entire life together in a nice, loving, kind relationship, which both of us will be beneficial from and gain things and learn things, and just learning every day, I guess, is my current intention, and to be able to be financially stable is my current objective again, yes.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you, right off the bat, told us what your current intentions are. I think more along the lines of what I was looking for is, maybe I'll pose a different question to you to really dive into this topic. Mm-hmm. So, when you're living with intention, mm-hmm. how does that show up in your lifestyle?
Well,
big pause here, everyone.
It's okay. We can just pause it here.
All right. So that question didn't pull any thoughts out of Brett's brain. So let me see if I can do this one better. I will tell you what I think living with intention is. Why are you laughing at that?
I thought you were going to ask me another question.
Well, clearly you're not giving me any answers,
okay.
so
I'll be good for next one.
I gotta leave you on the sideline for a minute here. Mm-hmm. So for me, living with intention is the idea that for every action that we complete, for every action that we do, we actually have a reason behind it. Like, why are we getting up at the time that we get up every morning? You know, why do we brush our teeth? Why do we hang out with the people that we hang out with? Why do we work the job that we work, or put the clothes on that we put on every single day? And I think the interesting thing about living with intention is we really often don't. We just kind of end up in a cycle of, wake up, go to work, come home, cook some dinner, watch TV, and go to sleep, and repeat. And I think this cycle often really just takes away from, the funness, the value that life can really be. And then that's also how you wake up like 20 years down the road and be like, oh yes, I've actually done nothing with my life. I have a terribly shitty life. Everything has been boring. And the last 20 years have passed incredibly quickly.
That Mustang and Ford F-150, yeah, you buying that in your midlife crisis because you haven't done what we're about to teach you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the thing, is like, if you're not living with intention, you're going to be making stupid decisions, like buying a super expensive car / truck, in your early 20s. Like, you have to, like, a big, big, big part of living with intention is living with intention about your finances, right? Like, if you don't have any financial goals, or you don't, picture where you want to be financially in 20 years, right now, when you are in your 20s, all right, money just seems kind of fugazi. You can do whatever the hell you want with it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be beneficial for you. So have that intention when you're thinking about money.
Financially right now, in your early 20s, mid-20s, late teens even, is the most important time for your financials you will ever have in your entire life. Ever. Do you want to know why?
Why, honey? Tell me.
Oh my God. Okay. Just to break it down, if you don't have this foundation starting now, you think you're just going to pick it up all of a sudden when you're 32 years old? No.
Hang on.
Financially.
All right, we're back. That was a slight interruption from my parents, who were not living with intention. They were living with stupidness.
Honestly,
but we're back.
This first podcast feels like when I first started making YouTube videos, and I was just so bad at them, and like I would just randomly start and stop whenever I wanted. I'd be fucking around, eating whatever I want throughout it, making a bunch of noise. The audio was terrible, and it's just like just pure chaos. And I appreciate if you've listened this far. That's quite interesting because
I don't know how you made it.
There's just no possible way. But I appreciate the fact that you're still here. So moving on to why financial literacy is the most important thing when you're 32.
We're beyond that. That's not what this podcast is about.
Okay, fantastic. Good enough. I gave my points. Let's move on.
The podcast is about living with intention. Yes, financials.
You're right. I just had to explain a little bit, and then we move on.
That is the financial advisor of Brett coming out there. He is giving you all some financial advice.
Let's get amped up.
All right. So I think the next thing... Well, actually, let me actually pull up the list of questions here, because I actually had some sensible thoughts beforehand. That's not something that occurs very often, as you can tell. Oh, for both of us.
Oh, you don't have thoughts?
No. Well, I don't have useful thoughts all the time. I know you don't.
Okay. So living with intention. What is living with intention? How do you practice this lifestyle? How is this different from just regular going through life? How is this different from living life with a purpose? Purpose is one goal. Intention is many. What areas of life do you tackle with intention? Food, activity, mental, work, content, consumption, relationships? How can this help make your life easier? Because that is really all we're looking towards.
Just for a recap there, that's Brett just reading my notes about what questions to ask him during this podcast. There was no valuable information in that.
Yes, but it's our first podcast, so we're going to roll with it.
I was planning to roll with it even if it was our 100th podcast.
Okay, how is this different from regularly going through life? I like the fourth point, sorry.
Okay. Which is, are you going to answer it or like
you just going to read it? Oh, yeah, my first point is, how is this different from living with a purpose? Purpose is one goal, intention is many. Define that.
Okay, well, the thought process I had behind that was like, when you're living for a purpose, like maybe the purpose is you want to make money. Or maybe the purpose is you want to get on your high school football team. Mm-hmm. I think when you're living with a purpose, your mind and your actions and your behaviors are so narrowly focused on one singular thing that runs your entire life. Whereas living with intention, you're not focused on one thing. You're focused on literally everything. Like you do everything you do for a different reason when you're living with intention versus when you're living with purpose. Like I will wake up at a different bedtime living with intention than I am living with purpose. Because living with purpose, there's one ultimate goal, but living with intention, like I said before, there's many goals. Do you have any thoughts on this, Brett?
No.
Okay. So that's an interesting one. But I think for me the real difference here is like living with intention gives you the flexibility where even if you don't have like a big goal that is kind of like taking over your whole life, you're still able to do things that are moving you forward. Because I feel what often happens with people is like, developing a big goal and sticking to reaching a big goal can be really hard, especially as you get older and you have maybe kids and you have a mortgage payment and you have family and you just have different responsibilities and you have a lot of responsibilities that are all extremely important, that are all taking up little pieces of your time. So to add in something saying like, oh, I want to turn into a professional figure skater during that period of life, it's very, very hard to do. It's almost nearly impossible and unachievable. But if you say something along the lines of like, I'm living with intention and my intention is to be a kinder person, to, be more true to myself in the way that I express myself, that could show up in what clothes you wear, what clothes you buy for yourself, the makeup that you put on, the people that you interact with, the activities that you partake in, right? And those are all kind of easier things to maneuver in a busy life full of responsibilities. So that's kind of why I like the idea of living with intention over living with just purpose or goals.
That's an interesting way to describe it. I would say I enjoyed how you broke that down. I don't really have any points. I was just kind of listening, so that was interesting. So do you want to move on to another question?
Sure. Well, I think that's very valuable though. Is sometimes you just need to listen in life rather than listen to react. Just absorb.
Mm-hmm. And that's.
So what was your intention in that moment? We're doing a podcast. I know there's some like expectability of you're going to say something, but in that moment you chose to just listen.
But I said something still.
Well, you said something, but it's not like you had a point to come back with. You just said, I absorbed that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's sometimes how it goes. How can this make your life easier in general? Like, it seems like it's going to be more work from what you've said, because I have to have a busy schedule. I have to continually push myself. That doesn't sound easier. How is that easier?
That's actually great that you bring that up, because I think there's like a huge misconception about this in life. Like, there's the whole aspect of like going with the flow, and I'm very pro going with the flow in like very narrow circumstances, but for the most part, if you're going with the flow, you're missing out on opportunities. And really, no one ever got more efficient because they weren't thinking critically, you know, and they weren't living with intention, right? So now say you have all these busy aspects of your life, right? And so maybe one thing that you do is you would like to pack your family lunch, A, because it saves money, B, because, you know, it is good to have a healthier lunch. There's so many reasons you could do it, right? Now, when you're living with intention, you know, you have to think, okay, this is something that I want to reach. So in the evenings, when you're sitting down watching TV, maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, watching TV, this may not be the most effective use of my time. Packing lunches can be. And you now are refocusing the energy and refocusing your attention, rather than just sitting down in front of the TV and having that time kind of just pass you by without you thinking critically about whether that's the best time or the best use of your time in that moment. Mm-hmm. You know, and then that will, like, by doing that in the evenings, you know, then it saves you an issue in the morning. It saves you all that money. It saves you whatever else things, and now you feel good because you just did something valuable for yourself and your family.
I would agree with that. It's very easy when you're not thinking with intention to just sit down, play video games, play a movie, and just watch TV for hours and hours and hours, and not have any idea that you're really burning time because you have nothing to do mentally. You know, the times I wake up as early as in the morning is when I have something on my mind, when I want to do something. And Layla, every single time, is shocked. Like, it was like 7:30.
To be fair, this only happens like 3 times a year.
Honestly, it doesn't happen that often because I don't have that much intention. Stop biting your nails. We're doing a podcast. All you tick, tick,
It's not
tick.
like they can hear that.
Yeah, and stop it. Why are you biting your nails right now?
Oh my god.
So unnecessary. Okay. And when I have something majorly critical on my mind that I want to accomplish, a goal I want to set myself and get to there, and, you know, there's an end goal in mind why I'm doing that one task. One task doesn't get me to where I want to go. It's hundreds and hundreds of those tasks added up together over a period of time that make you successful and make you achieve your goal.
I don't know. I think, like, you have quite a bit of experience with this in terms of, like, what happens when you don't live with intention. Tell us a little bit about your poker playing that happened earlier in the year.
What did happen? Which story would you like me to tell?
Oh, there's many. I just think, like, if we just, let's just discuss your general lifestyle, right? Like, you would start in the morning and maybe do a little bit of work, and, you know, by the time the afternoon rolled around, you'd be playing poker, and then you would play poker all through the night, and then you'd play poker all on the weekends, and you're just, like, constantly playing poker while there was other things that, you know, weren't critical, weren't direct emergencies, but you also weren't bettering your life at any point.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a great time playing that much poker. I did quite well. I won probably $1,200 in that span, but that was over probably a month, so it wasn't a very good hourly wage per se, and I got a little lucky, so I said, you know what, time to cash out and change this lifestyle because I can't do this. I was playing a bit of video games. I was playing way too much poker, and those two combined didn't give enough time for me and Layla time. It didn't give enough time for yoga time. It didn't give enough for me to pay attention to the fact that I actually need to spend a little longer doing the dishes or cooking or cleaning or doing something to help out the family in general. And all my mindset was to get back to things that were the dopamine. Dopamine. Get back to video games, get back to poker. And that was great. I mean, it was COVID, and I understand that it was great in a sense because if I look back on it, it was just a lot of good stuff, but there was a lot of bad stuff that came with that outside of it. You know, you can only have so much enjoyment without that burning you somewhere else in your life, and it's just not worth investing that much time and energy unless that's, your career aspiration per se. Otherwise, it's just, what are you doing? You can't be split 4 ways, I guess. You're not living life, really.
Well, in that way, you were only split one way, and it was one way that wasn't really benefiting your life, right?
Well, I would still do my work and stuff in the mornings.
Well, yeah.
But then that's it. Your main task is done, so you just fuck around for the day. And I mean, that was COVID. I don't feel too bad about myself for being such a poopy fat boy for 3 months, but...
And, it is what it is, right? Like, everyone gets in those moods where you're just kind of, in a rut and you're not really focused and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think, that is one of those things where you really have to kind of be strong and live with intention in the little things to actually rework the big things, why, one big thing for us was, changing what time we woke up. And when we actually had, intention of, we want to wake up at this time to ensure that we have a good night's we have a good night's worth of sleep, and then we're also getting up early enough in the day that we can still tackle all the things we want to do in a day. That was living with intention. And once we started doing that, it opened the avenue to do other things that have been significantly beneficial for us, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that fully. I mean, waking up earlier just today, just to have an agenda meeting in the morning is okay, that's a great little step. Let's just keep putting these new improvement blocks in our life and keep getting more efficient and have an intention to get more efficient, because now we have goals. And I would say something that woke me up a little bit to get out of the whole idea of poker and video games and not living with intention was the fact that I found something I enjoyed. I found a bit of a passion that came out in making videos again, which is TikTok. And because of the fandom that we were able to gain on such a quick escalating momentum, that it had pushed me to want to make more content. And the prize had changed, if that makes sense. Let's see where this can go. And once you have a little bit of spike, a little bit of passion to chase something, whatever that may be, chase it and see where it goes. And that might be the reason for you. Everybody's born for something, for some reason. Mm-hmm. If it's calling you, and that passion and that drive and that energy, your body and your brain and your mind and your soul just wants to sink into something, maybe that's something you should chase.
Yeah, and you should really turn around and
that'll make you live with intention.
I think one of the other things that I see about living with intention is when you talk to older people, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever, you often get two types. You get the ones who are like, oh my god, my life flew by. And then you get the ones where it's I had a really full, happy life. And when you look at the difference between those two and the kind of the lifestyles, the people who just let life go and, didn't really have any focus, have any direction, their life just flew by them. And then all of a sudden they woke up one day and they're like, holy shit, how did I get so old? What did I actually do with myself? And the other ones who are no, I had a really full life. It's they, focus their energy to make change and to make things happen in their life. And that is very much living with intention. So if you ever find yourself waking up being whoa, that period of time flew by really unnecessarily fast, that's a really good indicator, I think, that, you need to change the way that you're thinking about your daily actions.
And those things are just take that flight, go on that trip, visit that person, make that phone call. Mm-hmm. Put yourself out there a little bit more and try to break your comfort zone, because that is what makes you feel alive. Mm-hmm. If you don't break that comfort zone, you'll never get to the point of living with intention. You'll never get to the point when you're 89 years old and you're saying, life flew me by. You don't want to get there. You want to get to the point where life was full of fun activities and new things. And that's what makes time seem slower, is when you're constantly learning, constantly having things happen that are not the daily average routine. Because if it's a daily average routine, life flies you by. You make your 50, 80K a year, you have a wife, you have a kid, you have a house, take care of the house, go to work, come home, sleep, vice versa, do it for fucking 40 years, do one hobby on the weekend. Nah, man, there's more to life than just your everyday common things. Say yes to new things.
Yeah.
And I think that's about 20 minutes there, so you wrap it up. And my name has been Brett. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you took a little bit away from it. And Laila, want to send us off?
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you for listening. If you made it all the way through, you are an absolute G. I've been Laila, the other part of How to Manage People, and the other part of Laila and Bretten, and the other part of Cod Coach. So you can check us out on any of those platforms. I will link all of the things that we do, so you can see the serious side, the funny side, and just the plain old ridiculous side of what we do. And you know what? If you've got any comments on how you live with intention, or what you think living with intention means, or hey, if you just think up like we're straight out talking out of our ass, like, yeah, let us know. We're super excited to hear kind of anything that you have. Like, I'm here to meet and interact with people, and that's been a passion of mine for a long time. So
and I think just one last thing is I don't know where this path will go from making the podcasts, but I felt there was a little bit of interesting spark that had happened tonight, and I think we can look back on this content and this show in 5 years and 3 years and 10 years even, and be like, wow, look at us. We were bad, but we made it this far, and I hope you try to join us for this journey and see us build our skills as you build yours. And I think it'll be as valuable as anything you've ever done in your life. And this has been Brett signing off. We'll see you next time.
Thank you again. This has been your first episode of the first season of How to Manage People.
Let's pause it.